Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, well, let's just say this. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's
Friday. Friday.
Thank God it's
Friday. 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 Friday.
That's right, folks. Today is Friday, and we're going to have a good time on this Friday because we got a lot of really interesting things to talk about, shall we say. All of it really just about how much America is winning. That's right. We are winning. You're winning. I'm winning. Everyone is winning. Well, that is except for those who are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. They're having some issues. They really are. And it's okay. I feel bad for them. I pray for them because Lord knows that they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Delusional. Yeah, I think that's the word I'm looking for. Craig DeLuz said they are delusional. But that's okay because I know that you're paying attention. I know that you know what's going on. And we're going to share a bunch of the good news with you and, kind of reveal some stuff that's going on at that same time. But before we do, we got to get a few, housekeeping things out of the way. Number one, if you're watching the program live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, however you are watching it, if you're watching it during that time, then you're watching live, which means we can have a conversation, right? I'm following the comments. If you got something to say, let us know. Let us know what's up. Just say, hey, what's up? How you doing? I'm watching from so-and-so. Or, hey, I really think you're wrong on that topic. Or, hey, I think you're right on that topic. Or, hey, I got some information that I'd like to provide for you, maybe that you don't have. All of that is helpful. We're looking for all of that. We would very much like to hear from you. Go ahead and comment. If we find it to be interesting, we will go ahead and we will share it with our audience. Now, keep in mind that we don't have to agree with you in order to share it with our audience. But if we disagree with you, we do reserve the right to mock you.
Oh wow, is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
That's right. We do the mockingbird thing here. So anyway, you do know the difference between correcting you and mocking you, right? Correcting you, we will correct you. Mocking you is, well, making fun of you while we correct you. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I hope you're okay with that because it's all in the name of entertainment, or as I like to call it, infotainment. But in any case, before we get started, we gotta do the things that we gotta do, and that starts with giving a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're gonna start with Hitman Industries. They sell rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. So if you've purchased an AR recently, chances are you already have one of their barrels, and I'm sure that you love it. So if you're looking to do a brand new build, or maybe you're looking to rebarrel an older rifle, check them out today at hitmanindustries.net. Then you've got the California Republican Assembly working behind enemy lines in order to elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. You need to check them out. Just go to cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Go there, check them out, become a member today. Because I'll be real, if you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. You will find them at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Why is it spelled funny? Because the acronym is Helping Americans Wear Guns. And by the way, if you purchase it, if you go there now and you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, one word, no space, just like it is right up there, you're going to get a discount on us. So check them out today. That's hogholsters.com. And then finally, if you're looking for any sort of tactical gear, outdoor gear, maybe you're a first responder, you need to check out uscombatgear.com. They have a huge selection of products. They have deep, deep discounts, especially group discounts, and the best customer service available on the market. They specialize in group sales. So go there, get your unit, get your company, get your department, whatever it is, get your friends together and go over to uscombatgear.com where you'll find all things tactical except the gun. All right, the other day, Trump celebrated 200 days, the first 200 days in office, which is, for me, is kind of a weird kind of anniversary because the first 100 days felt like the first 3 years of an administration. When you talk about the number of press conferences, when you talk about the number of questions that were answered by the president, when you talk about the number of things that got done, it was hard to believe that it was that all that time was only 100 days. And a part of that was because, they were already kind of hepped up. They were already kind of hyped up. They were already in full Trump derangement syndrome mode. So they were ready for resistance from day one. They had already planned their resistance from day one. But all that having been said, who could have guessed that Donald Trump would have gotten so many things done, would have answered so many questions? And I also have to admit, it also is because you have to look at who was before him. And quite frankly, that was a pretty low bar. I mean, Joe Biden set a very, very low bar in terms of getting things done, in terms of answering questions, in terms of transparency, in terms of all of that. But Breitbart had a nice little piece yesterday, and because I had already kind of set the agenda for yesterday, didn't get a chance to cover it, but I wanted to hit it today because it's Friday, it's party time, we can have a good time here, right? Right? We can have a good time. I wanted to talk about the 6 biggest wins, right? The 6 biggest wins of the Trump administration of his first 200 days. And I want to ask you, did he have the best first 200 days of any president before him? Let's have that debate. All right, so here we are. Here's the article, the piece over at Breitbart. In fact, let me do this for you because just so that you can play along with the audience, just so the audience can play along, I went ahead and dropped it in the comments for you. Let's pull up the article here real quick. Let's look through it here. It says here, President Donald Trump has racked up a myriad of wins thus far in his administration, with Thursday marking the 200th day since he was once again sworn in as President of the United States. While Trump has a bounty of accomplishments in his first 200 days, through executive orders, key legislation, trade deals, and peace deals, 6 wins stand out in particular. Now, I wanted to make sure that I read that because I want you to understand. These are the top 6 as they list them. They are not the only 6 that are available. He says here, we're going to start with, okay, here we go. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which Trump signed into law on July 4th. Is his legacy legislation delivering a range of campaign promises and tax cuts on the border. Now, let's be frank with this. And be number one, 100% real about this. There were a lot of things that people wanted out of the One Big Beautiful Bill that just wasn't going to happen with such a thin margin in the House. And as a part of that, the biggest thing and the most important things that were there were this. Number one, making the tax cuts permanent. And he did that. Number 2, funding for the border to make sure that we could make border security a real thing. Those were the 2 biggest things. And then on top of that, he wasn't able to cut spending, I think, the way a lot of us would have liked to have seen. I think a lot of us would have liked to have seen some very, very deep cuts in terms of spending. That didn't happen. Wholly admit that it didn't happen. But what we did get was we got restrictions in growth, right? In other words, he cut the growth of spending. And we got some real reforms that are going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. Which is a big thing. It ain't all the waste, fraud, and abuse, but it was a significant reduction. So the One Big Beautiful Bill, yes, that does go down, at least within the top 6. I don't know if I would make it number 1, but it does go down within the top. I would put it in the top 6. Number 2, they have the European Union trade deal, and here's what they have to say about that. While the One Big Beautiful Bill is Trump's top accomplishment since returning to the White House, His trade deal with the European Union is a very close second. Though his tariff and trade policy, through his tariff and trade policies, Trump came to an agreement with EU President Ursula von der Leyen, in which Europe will purchase $750 billion in American energy, invest $600 billion in U.S.-based companies, and nix tariffs on U.S. imported goods from member countries. I'm sorry. All right, so here's what I'll say about this. Number one, this was really about renormalizing trade with Europe post World War II. World War II so devastated countries like Japan, and then when we talk about specifically in Europe, we did a lot to basically, I don't want to say make sure that there was a trade imbalance, but really to help Europe get back on its feet economically, to help them to be able to be competitive again in the world market after so much of their infrastructure had been destroyed. The problem was that post World War II, our economy became so good that no one ever really, I don't know if they never tried, but they were never successful in normalizing. In other words, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to give you some help to get back on your feet. And once Europe was back on its feet, they never came back. They never like, we're like, okay, well, hey, we're going to remove all these advantages that you have given us. And that just wasn't right. And Donald Trump recognized that, especially since the European Union, when you count, which is basically you count all of those European countries together, their economy is commensurate. I mean, it's right up there with the United States. So because they want to trade together, because they want to be one big entity, well, guess what? Then you are now in a position where you can negotiate with us equally and fairly. So we're going to hold you accountable for that. And that's what that was about. Would I put that number 2? I would probably include it in the one. It definitely deserves to be in the top 6. Would I put it in the top 2? Maybe not. But maybe not. But we'll get into some of the other things that are on the list right now. Let's see here. What is next on the list? Dun dun dun. I probably should have pulled some of these videos. There's some good videos here, but I like to talk. I wanted to share with you my thoughts on some of it, not because, well, that's kind of the point of the show, is to share my thoughts. Anyway, 0 illegal aliens admitted into the United States since April. Now, for me, this should have been number 1. Let me read a little bit about this. At the heart of Trump's campaign, both in 2016 and 2020, along with the economy and trade, was his commitment to stop unfettered illegal immigration at the United States southern border. Trump made dramatic progress in front of his first term. In front of his first term, before former President Joe Biden assumed office in 2021 and reversed key Trump policies, including Trump's end of catch and release. Trump has taken sweeping actions through executive action since day one, as well as through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, to fulfill his promise of putting an end to the massive surge in illegal immigration under Biden. The effectiveness of his policies is evident. Now, here's the reason why I believe this is number 1. Because when you take into account the fact that 60% of the increase of the surge in homelessness that has taken place throughout the United States, 60% of that increase were undocumented immigrants, were people who came across the border illegally. 60% of them. When you count the fact that for years, ever since the left finally admitted, and they only really admitted that there was a problem at the border for the last year and a half of the Biden administration, they refused to acknowledge that there was even an issue. They refused to acknowledge that for years, over 2 million illegal immigrants a year were entering the United States of America that we knew of, right? Those are the ones that you encountered. That didn't even include the known gotaways. It didn't even include the unknown gotaways. So you literally had a process that transformed many parts of this country that increased homelessness, that put burdens on local economies. And Democrats insisted. They insisted that, well, we can only fix this if you give us more money and you grant amnesty to the people who've already come through. Remember, they said that they had an answer for the border. And Republicans said no, because all it does is give amnesty and give money so that you can continue to do the same thing. They didn't want money for border security. They wanted more. They wanted to pay more people to process these people to just come on into the country. And Republicans and the president said no. They said, well, that's why we have an illegal immigration problem, because, well, Republicans are saying no. Donald Trump told them to say no. And within 60 days of taking office, within 60 days, the border was closed. Within 60 days, no one was coming in through our southern border. Within 60 days, people were self-deporting. That's why it should be the number one accomplishment. He was so successful on the border that in many people's eyes, in many polls, illegal immigration ceased being a problem because no one was coming in, right? It's kind of like, well, you forget that the roof is leaking when the water stops dripping. Well, there are still some holes in the roof. He's patched it. He's patched it significantly, but a lot of the stuff he did was via executive order. Still needs to be fixed. Still needs to be 100% fixed. But how can you deny that he was able to, and by the way, most of those executive orders did nothing more than put back in place the policies he had before Biden. Really? Really? That's what it took. Now, maybe they consider it not to be in the top because all he did was do what he did before. I mean, he kind of already had the roadmap. He just had to put it back in. He already had it. Maybe that's the reason why they don't make it number one. But for me, and I think for people, for communities that are affected, which by the way is just about everybody, I think that's number one. This next one is probably the most underlooked. Peacemaker in chief. Trump has ended a number of global conflicts since returning to office. As of July, he was averaging one peace deal or ceasefire per month. The most recent deal Trump brokered was in late July between Cambodia and Thailand, both of whom were facing August 1 tariff deadlines when Trump declared to leaders of both countries that he would not make trade deals with them if fighting continued. Hostilities erupted between the nations last month after each accused the other of violating the sovereignty of their borders. The two countries have endured border tensions for nearly 120 years as a result of Thailand disputing border maps drawn up while Cambodia was still in a French colony. The fighting displaced over 150,000 people in 1 week. 2 days after Trump's warning, to both leaders, they reached a ceasefire agreement on July 28, when Trump seemed to learn from both Breitbart News Washington bureau chief Matt Doyle. He has also mediated ceasefires between Israel and Iran, India and Pakistan, the U.S. and the Houthis, and brokered major peace agreement between the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo after 3 decades of bloodshed. Moreover, Trump helped Egypt and Ethiopia reach a peace deal regarding a conflict over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Nile River. Business Insider recently reported that tensions have since brewed between the nations over ongoing negotiations about the dam's operation and water sharing guidelines. And by the way, that doesn't even include the Abraham Accords, which were part of his first term. Obviously, I mean, dude has brokered peace deals. By the way, that doesn't also include the fact that he got South Korea and North Korea to sit down and negotiate for the first time in decades. I mean, this guy is bringing peace. He's bringing people to the table. And now, by the way, this is according to him, according to his White House, apparently they're on the verge of having Russia and Ukraine actually sit down, to having both Zelensky and Putin actually sit down and negotiate some peace. And once again, doing that by threatening sanctions on both. Um, how can you refute that? This is all common knowledge, right? This is all stuff that's right there. It's out in the media. I would put this, when I say underscore, this is top three to me. This is top three, in particular in the event that if I include what he did in his first term. He has been able to help negotiate peace where nobody else. He negotiated peace in the Middle East. What other president did that? Right? What other president has successfully negotiated peace in the Middle East? Has gotten Muslim countries to recognize the right of Israel to exist? I don't know of any other president. Well, partially because a lot of the presidents, especially the Democratic ones, they want Israel to give up the right to resist, I guess, or at least they don't want to require that the Muslim nations, as a part of the peace, say, "Yeah, you guys get to exist." All right. Now, this next one I actually consider to be part of the overall trade deals, but really they talked about the EU trade deals. I put all the trade deals. You got to put all the trade deals together in order for it to really count, in my opinion, to be in the top three. But here you have trillions in investment pouring into the United States. Since taking office, Trump has attracted substantial investment into the United States, in part thanks to his tariff policies, which is what I just said, as foreign and domestic companies that set up manufacturing plants in America will not pay duties to sell in the American market. I'm taking a long time on this story, but it's worth it. I'll just say that on this one. It's big, but we'll only know once the money comes in, because right now they've pledged it. A pledge may or may not be worth the money, the thing it's written on. And then finally, protecting women and children from the effects of trans ideology. I want to say not gender ideology. All right, let's be specific. Protecting them from gender ideology. It says another major win that Trump has delivered for Americans is protecting women and children from trans ideology or from gender ideology. For one, Trump signed executive order in February banning men from competing in women's sports, which is becoming normalized under Biden administration, surrounding young girls and female athletes. Surrounded by young girls and female athletes, Trump signed an order in the East Room of the White House. And once again, specifically, I think that what Trump is doing is this is not speaking to how he believes about the trans community. I believe this is really about him, in particular, in cases recognizing that cases have created hostile environments for females. When you talk about girls in sports or women in sports, you're talking about people who are biological males who have a physical advantage that oftentimes is almost always unfair. It almost always creates a significant advantage, but in some cases also presents a danger to female participants. And you only have to look at the basketball player who basically injured 5 different girls on an opposing basketball team, so bad that they had to forfeit the game. They had to quit at halftime. The woman who was at the State of the Union address, that wasn't the State of the Union. It was anyway, the president's address, where had a volleyball spiked in her face and is still dealing with brain trauma. This is about protecting women in female prisons who basically are having transgender inmates sent in there, and in many cases are being raped. This is about basically not so much people who are really trans in women's locker rooms, but really about, in my opinion, men who are claiming to be trans so that they can, basically so that they can be perverts in the female locker room. And there are those, the that get off on walking around naked around women. I'm not saying that's the case with every trans woman, but I do know that there are enough instances in the media. We've read them. We've told you about them. You can look them up where that has in fact been the case. And no, we've got to protect women, and I think that's what those are all about. Anyway, all that having been said, those are the big Trump, the big six. Once again, I disagree with the order, but I got no problem with them being in the big six. Moving right along to our next story, every single income earner did better under Trump. And this is something that not a lot of people are going to talk to you about. This is a video that not a lot of people are going to share. It was done at the White House, and Fox News shared it, but I doubt anyone else is going to put this video out there. So let me share this with you.
So the 25th percentile is the lowest income, 75th percentile is the highest income. And what I find fascinating about this, Mr. President, is every income group did better. The red is President Trump, the blue is President Biden. Every single income group did better under President Trump. But what's really amazing is look what happened under Biden. The lowest income group lost income under Biden. They were poor 4 years after Biden's presidency. No gain virtually whatsoever for the middle class. And the rich was the only group that did better under Biden, which is ironic because Biden keeps saying he was trying to get rid of income inequality. He made income inequality worse, not better. It was President Trump that reduced income inequality.
These numbers just came out, by the way.
Yep. And then finally, these are the
That's his
numbers
version of a mic drop right
I just
there.
showed you in percentage terms. Mr. President, these are the numbers in dollar terms. So even the lowest income, 25th percent, gained about $4,000 in income. That's a lot for a lower income family. $6,400 for the middle class and almost $10,000 for the richest. So you can see.
So now one of the biggest reasons why this is the case is because one, real income did go up, has gone up under Donald Trump. And not as much as you think. When I say real income, let me go back. Actual income, just flat out what you're getting paid, went up. And it went up under Trump before. It went up significantly under Donald Trump. But what the real difference here, what we're talking about is how far your dollar actually goes. That's what they mean when they say real income. It doesn't really matter if your income goes up, if all of your expenses go up as well. And we experienced record, and when I say this, record inflation under Joe Biden. They'll never admit this. There still are people today, my fellow school board member, I'm not going to say his name, Ken Barnes, there are still who are like, well, there's inflation going on right now. And well, first of all, yes, there's almost always inflation going on right now. But the difference is at its peak under Joe Biden, it was up around 10%. It's gone down every month, and now it's down around 2.1%. Your target it generally is 2%. If you can get it down at or around 2%, then that's historically where you're trying to get. If you can get it under 2%, that's great. Almost nobody has negative inflation or deflation, right? Because over time, things just get a little bit more expensive, right? That's time value of money. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that things are getting better under Donald Trump. Now, I will be the first to say this. Right now, tariffs haven't been a thing. They haven't dramatically increased prices. I don't believe that the full story has been told on tariffs yet. I don't know that we're going to know the full story because in many cases, everything is still being negotiated. A lot of the money that's come in is temporary money for a couple of reasons. One, because it may be negotiated down in order to get fair trade deals and so that we can actually export more. But number two, as many of these companies, as we talked about earlier, are investing in the United States or saying that they're investing in the United States, they're investing in the United States not just because they're investing in building plants here and whatnot so that they don't have to pay the tariffs. If you're building it here and you're not paying the tariffs, then tariff revenue will go down. So not only will there not be as much money in tariffs, which means products hopefully won't be as expensive. Anyway, we don't know yet. We don't know the full story. But right now, his plan is working. And you got to give him credit for the plan working. And And in spite of both what Democrats have said, even though they were supporters of tariffs before, and what many of us conservatives have said, because what I've understood, I studied finance, I studied economics, and I have a fundamental belief about tariffs, and what's happened hasn't taken me away from that. It's more how he's used the threat of tariffs than I think actual tariffs. As we get some of these tariffs to start to become a little more permanent is when we'll start to see exactly what the impact is. And all I can tell you is this: I hope I'm wrong. And I'll fully admit that I'm wrong. I was wrong. I thought the economy, we'd be in some serious trouble right now if those things went into place. Some have, and we're not in a terrible place yet. So, thumbs up, Mr. President. You're winning. You're winning. All right, this is an interesting one, and I'm not going to call this one necessarily good news, but the fact that it's being revealed, I know it is not a secret to you. I know this whole sorts of thing is not a secret to you, but this is an article over at the Washington Free Beacon where they point out that Democratic AGs hired this law firm to sue oil companies, right? And they were successful at suing the oil company. Then the firm spent $49,000 to elect Democratic AGs so that they could do what? Sue oil companies in other states. Let me read the story here for you. It says here the Democratic attorneys general in at least 9 states and Washington, D.C. have hired the same climate-focused law firm, Scher Elding LLP, to sue oil companies on their behalf in recent years. At the same time, the firm has donated $49,000 to the Democratic Attorney General's Association, called DAGA, which is led by and works to elect those same officials. Scher Edling wired the group $24,000 in November of 2023 and another $25,000 in September of 2024, according to Washington Free Beacon review of federal political organizations' tax filings. Those represent the only donations of their kind that Scher Elding has made as a firm. Its individual partners have separately given a few $1,000s to state-level campaigns and tens of thousands to federal campaigns. The donations provide a window into the cozy relationship between Scher Edling and the country's Democratic attorneys general. On one hand, the partnership allows Democrats to publicly take on a favorite progressive boogeyman in the oil industry with little risk, and on the other hand, the cases provide Scher Edling with a promise of potentially massive payouts. That's right. So in other words, they're getting tax dollars back in exchange for political contributions. And I know you're thinking $49,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot of money. But in the context of a lot of these races, where you're talking a lot of these mid-sized and small states, I mean, we're not talking California where it costs millions of dollars to run for statewide office. It's a lot cheaper to run for office in some of these smaller Democratic states, or in some of these smaller states where you have a legitimate shot as a Democrat to win. Now, it's not difficult at all. It's not very expensive. And here you have, and this has always been my biggest issue, I have an issue with people being able to donate to someone who's going to make a decision about their contracts, right? Or about their pay. It's like basically you have the employee hiring the boss, and that's what you have in this particular case. And once again, they're bringing them in specifically to sue the oil companies, and that's bad juju. That's bad. I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Now, another instance where you had this exact kind of thing happen was the insurance companies and the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. And well, there are plenty of stories that are out there right now that are demonstrating that Obamacare is not going to be, the Affordable Care Act is not going to be that affordable for very long. This over at Axios. Obamacare's sticker shock could jolt Republicans. Pressure on Congress to renew the Affordable Care Act subsidies is likely to ramp up this fall as notices of the 2026 premium increases go out and consumers get their warnings that a huge rate hikes could be coming. Backers of renewing the enhanced tax credits, which expire at the end of this year, hope the sticker shock could motivate Republicans to get behind a short-term reauthorization to avoid an uproar over premium increases in an election year. Quote, this is going to rain starting in October. People are going to start getting their notices, said Leslie Dock, chair of the Democratic-aligned group Protect Our Care. And it comes right to your doorstep, right to your mailbox. Republicans in Congress, he said, are not going to do anything until they see the light of their constituents' eyes here. So the most important thing to be sure is to be sure that people know what's going on. And this is the big picture, as they put it. Out-of-pocket premium costs for over 2 million enrollees in the ACA marketplaces will increase by an average of 75% if the enhanced subsidies expire at the end of the year, according to KFF. Congressional scorekeepers also project 4.2 million more people would become uninsured over a decade. That puts Republicans in a bind heading into the midterm elections, stuck between resisting the expansion of the ACA and fear of steep health cost increases for their constituents. Although some GOP lawmakers are open to a deal on an extension, there's substantial concern over the projected $335 billion cost over 10 years. And the often expressed sentiment that the subsidies are a handout to insurance companies. And by the way, folks, that is exactly what it is. See, here's the thing about the quote-unquote Affordable Care Act. It does nothing to make healthcare more affordable. It doesn't. It may make health insurance for the consumer more affordable, but it does that by taking taxpayer dollars and paying for that insurance or subsidizing that insurance. So a lot of those people who are getting the insurance, they're also paying on the back end as a taxpayer. That's number one. Number two, it does nothing to address healthcare at all. Nothing. There's nothing in the Affordable Care Act that says, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to open up the market. We're going to do these things that are going to make providing healthcare, that's going to make surgeries, that's going to make medication, that's going to make going to the doctor, that's going to make staying in the hospital cost any less. Absolutely nothing. The Affordable Care Act is about who's paying the insurance bill. And the reason why the insurance companies are all down with it is because they're the ones that are getting paid. That's right. The insurance companies are the ones getting paid. Remember what I said. Under Biden and under Obama, the rich got richer. Remember, we just saw that. The rich got richer. Well, that's because of policies by the left. And this is an example of a policy of the left. Because, by the way, just so you know, since Obamacare passed and so the ACA passed, health insurance has only gotten more expensive. Even the ACA is way more expensive than what you used to pay in the free market, right? They don't do things like make it easier for you to get high deductible insurance plans where you can then also have a health savings account. For the longest time, that's what I did because I could get a health savings account. I could put money in there, which would cover my routine stuff, that would cover low-end, low-cost stuff. And then I had a huge deductible policy that covered catastrophic care. And within a year, by the way, my health insurance, my HSA, my health savings account was enough to cover my big deductible. So I could choose to either just keep putting money into the HSA or just hold on to that until I wanted to spend it or start putting money again. But by the way, it was cheaper for me to do both, for me to, between the money that went into the HSA, which I could also then, by the way, I could use it to cover dental care deductibles, to cover eye care deductibles, to cover glasses, all of that stuff, right? I could also, by the way, use it to pay the deductibles. It was amazing. It was amazing how well it worked and how much money I saved by doing that. Nothing in the ACA promotes that or allows you to do that. Anyway, all that having been said, the Affordable Care Act is not about affordable health care. It's not. And we know that because it's about to get a lot more expensive. And they're using it as a political game because they're going to use that to try and go after Republicans. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holster. Just go to hogholster.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word. All right, this first one here. This is an interesting little tidbit on redistricting. We've been talking a lot about that. So let's see what's up with that video.
Democrats know how their own congressional maps look. There is a lib uproar over Texas redistricting that led Texas Democrats fleeing to.
Okay, don't know what happened there. Hold on a second. Let me see. Let me pull that video back up. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, now we'll see the entire video. Here's the whole video.
Democrats know how their own congressional maps look. There is a lib uproar over Texas redistricting that led Texas Democrats fleeing to Illinois to avoid a vote, which is hilarious because to protest gerrymandering, they went to a state that looks like this. Oh, check out this very oddly shaped blue district held by a Democrat. I'm sure the Democrats drew the map as fairly as they possibly could and definitely did not force a blue district into an otherwise very red part of the state. Similarly, in California, Democrats do outnumber registered Republican voters 2-1. But interestingly, in Congress, Democrats outnumber Republicans 5-1. Geez, I wonder if that extremely lopsided ratio has anything to do with how Democrats drew their own districts. The point is, with all the Democrat outrage over Texas, I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, and it's no different in the California state legislature as well. What they do is that they take significant areas, right, that have large populations, and what they do is they, or large Democratic population, and they pull a chunk out here to support this, to boast numbers in this suburb and make it Democrat. Take numbers from up here in this city, and push it over here so that they can get better numbers there. Like, one of the things that they will not tell you, and I'm actually going to be doing a piece on this, in Texas, they're actually drawing now. This, I know this because this happened when you draw fair districts, like we did in the 90s in California. You actually wind up drawing. So they're going to wind up drawing two majority black congressional districts in Texas. They're also going to be drawing four majority Latino districts, two of which are still Republican districts, but they're going to be majority Latino districts. See, what happens is the Democratic Party, in order to shore up their vote, they split communities of interest. And I'm not talking like big Republicans had these weird oblong lines. We're talking communities of interest, people who live in the same neighborhood, the same city, all of that thing. We're talking about drawing fair lines, right? Communities of interest. And when I say communities of interest, it's not just based on race. It shouldn't be based on race. It should be based on where you live, the reasonable boundaries, and reasonable, at least close to districts that are close in population. Anyway, that was a funny one, and I love the fact that he pointed that out. This next one here, this is you might recognize Tom. I'm pretty sure it's Tom McDonald in this next one, but I consider it to be funny. I don't know what the whole dandelion thing is, but the way they did this one is hilarious.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I'm a dandelion.
Yeah, I found her. She's right here.
Yeah, dude went after Hillary Clinton with a weed eater. That is kind of what we do to dandelions. You know what I mean? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, and this last one. This one just kind of speaks to the the oddness of the pairings. This is this is the result of the whole neo-Marxist, we hate America, we hate anything related to America. The neo-Marxist group, the people who the partnership between America haters results in stuff like this.
I find it confusing, confounding, these niche protests, right? Trans for Palestine, queers for Palestine, gays for Palestine. It's like, you want to show that support? By all means, get on a plane, go to Palestine. Your pronouns will quickly be known as was, were.
Yeah, that kind of makes the point, doesn't it? Because, well, let's just say that they wouldn't be received very well in Palestine. All right, folks. Well, that's going to be it for today's program. We very much appreciate you tuning in. Oh, almost forgot. Got to give another quick shout out to our sponsors. We got Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at hitmanindustries.net. We got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then you've got the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun, and that's uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, now that's going to be it for today's program. In fact, that's going to be it for the week. Well, we'll be back on Monday, fun day, gun day. I tell you what I'm gonna do, because we're having such a good time. I'm not gonna go the normal way we go out. We're gonna go out with a little bit of Trumpty Trump.
I stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image of me that you're used to. I look money, I'm honey, see. Each state, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round, I'm the new sheriff in town. All my people rise up and stand your ground. Now drink up all the Diet Coke you got on your shelf. So just let me introduce myself. My name is Trump D. I like my mashed potatoes lumpy. Fake news, oh how I like the punk thee. That little sniper on the slope tin. He took a shot but he missed me. I don't fall, y'all, I'm like the ever ready bunny. Still going strong and spunky. So put on your big boy pants. Come on, let's do the dance.
The Trumpy dance is your chance to do the Trump.
Come on,